Peel Police have suspended 3 officers. This is in relation to an investigation that has rocked the Toronto Police Service. The Project South corruption and organized crime probe by York Police, it led to 46 charges against 7 Toronto officers and 1 retired member. Now, among the allegations is that they leaked information to organized crime figures, which set off a string of shootings in the GTA. And a statement from Peel Police reads, quote, "No officers from Peel Region Police have been charged in connection to Project South. The scope of the York Regional Police investigation is wide-reaching and ongoing. PRP has administratively suspended 3 officers pending further investigation by YRP. To protect the integrity of their investigation, we will not be providing additional comment." Well, meanwhile, bail has been denied for a Toronto police officer implicated in a wide-ranging criminal probe in York Region, which saw 7 active TPS officers arrested. CP24 CJ Liu joins us live to bring us up to speed. CJ.
Bakari, we just learned that bail has been denied for Toronto police officer Timothy Barnhart. He is the officer that is facing 17 charges in relation to Project South, including drugs, trafficking, and providing an address to a criminal organization that led to that alleged murder plot. So he is facing more charges than anyone else, the alleged ringleader of this. And for more on his bail decision, along with the wider criminal impacts of this probe, I'm joined by criminal defense lawyer Joseph Newberger live right now. Sir, thank you so much for your time this evening. First off, what do you make of the bail hearing decision for this officer, Timothy Barnhart, that being denied today?
I think it's appropriate. He was a key figure in passing along highly sensitive information, which was allegedly provided to a criminal organization for the purposes of possibly carrying out a murder, and it was linked specifically to shootings in York Region. Now, I preface all of this, of course, that these are allegations, and these officers enjoy the presumption of innocence like anybody accused, but the allegations themselves, and I think the evidence that the Crown would have presented at the bail hearing was very cogent and would compel someone hearing this case to detain him for public safety and for further offenses.
Now, this officer is facing more charges than anyone else in this investigation. How do you think today's bail hearing decision will impact the other officers that are coming behind him?
Well, if he is, let's say, alleged to be at the higher echelon of those officers charged, I certainly think it will have an impact for the others who come forward, because in any instance where officers are accessing the database, which should not be used for passing along private information like locations to give to organized crime, that's a core violation of their duty and a core violation of the trust that we have in police officers to honestly fulfill their duties. So I think it's going to have a significant impact, and I think it will be hard for a number of the officers who have more serious allegations and very compelling evidence against them to achieve bail. So this is going to be an uphill battle, in my opinion.
And when you look at the list of officers who are facing charges, some of them have worked in the police force for 10 years, 15 years, some more senior officers. How do you feel that these arrests and allegations could impact other ongoing criminal court cases, especially ones where these officers were witnesses or played a part in that conviction?
Well, certainly the Toronto Police Service is now going to be doing a thorough review of any involvement that these officers may have had in ongoing cases or prosecutions, and frankly, in prosecutions that have taken place previously as well. So if they were an integral component of a prosecution or a current prosecution, it can have an impact on the integrity. If they played a central role with evidence gathering or other sort of significant aspects in a case, it can have a very chilling effect on whether that prosecution was a safe prosecution or whether it can go ahead. That said, I think with a number of these officers, they may not have been involved at that level of investigation. So the fallout from this may not be that bad, but time will tell, and the Toronto Police will have to do a very thorough review.
And a lot of the conversations we have been hearing from the police chief, the mayor, anyone involved in this investigation has to do with public trust, accountability, and regaining that credibility back. Can you talk about how these allegations have rattled public trust when it comes to policing?
Yeah, so this is, a core component of society is trust in our enforcement agencies, and this is a very important feature of how we feel safe in our communities, and we rely on police officers to fulfill their obligations honestly and in our best interests. So this is a very serious violation of trust. That said, Toronto Police has some 8,000 officers, and in any large organization there will be bad actors. It's going to happen. So I think we have to take that into consideration. There's lots of very good officers who work very hard day in and day out to protect the public. So we have to have a measured approach to this, but it will take some effort to regain confidence of the community at large. And there are a number of things they can do. And I think one of those which they've called for is an independent objective review to look at how this happened and how they can implement other procedures and safeguards to try and prevent this from the future.
Absolutely. Well, criminal defense lawyer Joseph Newberger, thanks so much for your time this evening and your analysis. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Have a good weekend.
You too. And just reiterating again, earlier this evening, we learned that Timothy Barnhart, the officer facing 17 charges in relation to Project South, has been denied bail, Bakari, and we'll bring you any more updates on this case as we learn it.
Okay, live from the newsroom, CP24, Sijia Liu.
Right now, we're following breaking news of a teen who has died after a shooting at Bellamy and Lawrence. Right now, we're going to go to CP24's Sijia Liu, who is live at the scene. Sijia.
Liz, this shooting took place at this Tim Hortons around 4 o'clock today, and we got an update from police this evening. They tell us a teen boy has died from the shooting. They were first called here after 4 o'clock for this shooting. There were people inside at the time, customers and staff, but fortunately, no one else was injured. We don't see any visible damage to the building from this vantage point, but the boy was rushed to the hospital in critical condition in the afternoon and has since died of his injuries. There's not much police can say right now about the investigation since it's still so early, but what they can tell us is they don't have much on the suspect at this point. No suspect description has been released, but they are working on interviewing witnesses. There are police inside right now taking photos of the Tim Hortons, talking to employees who are working at the time, but the shop has been shut down for the night. Here's more from the inspector working along with some patrons we spoke to earlier tonight.
When officers arrived on scene, they located one male victim suffering from gunshot wounds. The victim, who is a teen, was transported to hospital, where he succumbed to his injuries and was pronounced deceased. No other injuries were sustained by staff members or customers present. We do not have suspect information at this time. We are still in the midst of speaking with witnesses. There will be information we will not be disclosing so we can get the best witness statement.
It's a very family-oriented place. It's one of the safest places over here. And I've been coming here since the past 4 months. And then today, finally, I decided not to come over here. And then I saw all these cops, and I just can't believe it,
Looking at the scene, what goes through your mind right now?
I feel sorry for the family first, and then, so many little babies come over here every day because they have kids' meal and everything. And then I can't even believe,
And this Tim Hortons is surrounded by a residential area. And at this hour, the Forensic Identification Services is here. They have the scene taped up. We also are seeing officers taking photos of the surveillance cameras. We do notice a few surveillance cameras right outside this Tim Hortons. So, Liz, that will certainly be an important part of this investigation. But as of right now, still no details on the suspect.
Thank you, Sijia. That's CP24 Sijia Liu live in Scarborough.
We're following developing news this morning. A GO train that derailed near Union Station yesterday, that's at least been removed from the tracks, but service is definitely not back up to normal.
CP24's Courtney Hills joins us live from Union Station this morning with more on this. Courtney, for people watching at home right now, wondering how long these delays are, can they get any information on the website? Is it updated?
They can. It's definitely on their website. There's even an app. That's what I'm hearing from commuters this morning. They're just checking in on the status of their train before they arrive here at Union Station. For the most part, I'd say it's not too bad. We're hearing delays anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. There was one train here out of Union Station that was canceled and then pushed back about 25 minutes. That's what I heard from a couple of commuters, but really nothing compared to yesterday. I mean, that was so difficult for so many people. This train derailed yesterday morning during the rush. As a result, they had to shut down all of the lines. And then there was a huge wait for so many people coming back here to Union Station to get home. I spoke with one woman who told me she had quite a long trip, and this all happened as she was just trying to get to work yesterday morning. Here's more from her.
Yesterday was a nightmare as I'm coming from Mount Pleasant from Brampton, so I take my train at 7:30 and it was okay, but when I was arriving Union Station, they stopped the train before the Union Station, and I was waiting outside for like an hour. I have to go to work at Sunnybrook Hospital, so it was just a disaster because it's 2 hours commute, and like I was notifying my managers and all that, like I'm getting so late, and I was having all that stress on my mind, and it was like too much.
It took me almost like 2 hours to get to work. And then I had to call my boss and be like, hey, I need to take Uber because I'm going to be late regardless, right? It was telling me to wait another, like, oh, train came in, and then it'll be like, oh, no, get off the train. We canceled it. And I'm like, this is now the third time this is happening. So I'm like, I just gave up and decided just to call the boss, say like, hey, listen, this is what's happening. What do you want me to do? Do you want me to continue to wait, or do you want to pay for this Uber?
Yeah, and it seems like at that time, people didn't realize how significant of an impact this derailment was. If anything, people didn't know that's what had happened. And then there was the really, really significant delays. So again, we're hearing this morning from Metrolinx, they've removed the train. We've seen the tracks, guys. We see that the train is gone, but there are quite a few workers out on the tracks doing the necessary repair work. And at this time, we don't know how long that is going to take. All we know is there is going to be an impact to service this morning during the rush. Most people, as I say, I'm talking to, they say it's not that bad. There's a bit of a delay, 10, 15 minutes. Maybe their train has been pushed to another platform, that sort of thing. But the request or the suggestion here, as always, is just check on the status before you come to Union. Over to you.
It was curious yesterday morning, Courtney, because it came in as a signal issue, which seems kind of innocuous. And we talk about a lot of signal issues when it comes to commuting and that sort of, they're brief and then the signals get fixed. Had we known that it was a train derailed yesterday morning, that would have changed the entire scope of the story here, getting more facts, getting a more clear picture today. But yeah, that's when people just think it's one thing and not the other, that really changes how you handle a situation. Okay, Courtney Heels is live at Union this morning.
Thanks, Court. We're going to take you live now to City Hall, where Mayor Olivia Chow is speaking to the media ahead of today's City Council meeting.
Afford a place to live and raise your new family. What I want you to know is this. The city is building, and we will continue to build for you. That is what today's council meeting is about. Back in October 2023, one of my major initiatives as mayor was to set out a clear direction for the city. And we said that we have to have a generational transformation of Toronto's housing system to urgently build more affordable homes. We have committed to dedicating more city-owned land for affordable housing, speeding up development approvals, taking a leading role in delivering affordable housing, and keeping public land in public hands instead of selling it off. Fast forward to today, and we are seeing the results of that work. When you see cranes in the skies across Toronto, 7 out of 10 housing projects are city-led projects or are being built with city support. We're building more affordable housing and protecting construction jobs in a challenging financial market. Projects are getting approved 80% faster. This year, in partnership with other orders of government, we are on track to break ground on 27,000 new rental homes. That includes nearly 10,000 homes that you can afford. 3 of the items before City Council today are city-led affordable housing projects on city-owned land. And these are just a few examples of the work underway to build more housing across our city. 405 Sherbourne was one of the city-owned sites identified in October 2023 as housing ready. It is great to see that work move forward today. This application moved from submission to approval in just 70 days. And now what was once a green pea parking lot with space for 110 cars is being transformed into 301 new rental homes, including 90 affordable units, along with community space. I want to thank Councillor Moyes for his leadership in helping bring more affordable housing to his community. Today, Council will advance two other city-led projects at 9 Short Street and 1631 Queen Street. In both cases, we are taking underused city-owned land and delivering homes for people. There will be a daycare and other spaces for the community also. Thank you to city staff, including the Housing Secretariat, our new Housing Development Office, and the Development Review Division for their work, moving these projects and many others forward. Now, tackling the affordable housing crisis required working together across all orders of government. In Toronto, we are doing our part, but we can't do it alone. Today, I'm traveling to Ottawa this afternoon to meet with the Prime Minister and the Big City Mayor's Caucus. I will be pushing for a stronger federal partnership to build more affordable housing, specifically asking Prime Minister Carney to help us lower development charges so we can get affordable housing built faster. Here's the challenge. The city has already eliminated over $400 million in development charges and taxes to get shovels in the ground on 11,000 housing units. We've done what we can, but we are at our fiscal limit. Development charges pay for the important infrastructure projects that make housing possible: transit, roads, community centers, libraries. When the federal government funds that infrastructure directly, we can cut development charges further and reduce the cost of building homes in Toronto. That means more homes built faster. Finally, some of you may notice that the Olympics begin this week. People across Toronto will be cheering on Team Canada, from our hockey teams to our skiers as they compete in Italy. Now, because of the time difference, some events and games will start as early as 6 a.m. here. As a city, we should not get in the way of small businesses in our communities, pubs and cafes, showcasing the games. So today, I am introducing a motion titled Team Canada Olympic Spirits. This motion will allow extended hours for alcohol sales and service from now till February 22nd.
Two new polls by Nanos Research conducted for CTV News are shedding some light on Canadians' top priorities for the federal government and their thoughts on MPs who cross the floor.
Yeah, we saw a few of those before Parliament ended. CTV's Jeremy Sharon is live now with more. Jeremy, it's interesting, this Nanos Research showing how Canadians are really split in terms of floor crossing. I know we're jumping ahead on topics here, but I found this really stunning. The idea, basically it's a third, a third, a third.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if we want to start with the floor crossers, I mean, certainly some interesting numbers, and certainly topical when you look at the fact we've seen two floor crossers, Chris d'Entremont and Michael Mott, from the Conservatives, to the Liberals, the governing Liberals, of course. And there's been a lot of talk about whether or not that should be allowed. Now, of course, it is right now under the current structure, the current rules allow for an MP to cross the floor and join another party. But there's been a lot of talk about whether or not that should be the case. And this Nanos survey commissioned by CTV News asked Canadians how they felt about the floor crossers and whether or not this should remain the case, that floor crossers, that MPs should be allowed to cross the floor as they have. 1/3 said that things should stay as they are and that they should be allowed to do so. But the 2 other thirds believe that other options were better, that they should not actually be able to cross the floor without, either 1, triggering a by-election, or 2, having to sit as an MP instead. So interesting to look at the numbers and the fact that 2/3, Nick and Jen, believe that the current way things are should not be the case.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, and Jeremy, what does the poll say in terms of how Canadians are feeling the priorities should be for the federal government in 2026?
Yeah, when you look at where Canadians feel in terms of what should be prioritized over the next year by the federal government, pretty clear that Canadians believe that domestic issues, things that are directly right now impacting them, should be prioritized over relations with Canada and the U.S., for example. So when you look at the breakdown of what Canadians believe should be the number 1 priorities, number 1 on that list is the rising cost of living. So 26% of respondents believe that that is the number 1 priority and should be the number 1 focus for the federal government. That is up from 21% when the question was asked in September. Number 2 on that list, jobs in the economy. 18% of people believe that should be one of the top priorities. That's up from 16% in September. And down a little bit on the priority list is trade negotiations with the U.S. 17% of respondents would like to see that as the number 1 priority versus 21% back in September. So that number has dropped a little bit. But trade negotiations with the U.S. has been among the top priorities for about a year. And important to note that, as things stand, in terms of relationships between Canada and the U.S., in terms of the geopolitical situation, all 3 of those things are kind of related right now. The rising cost of living, jobs, the economy, and the relationship with the U.S. Hard to ignore or focus on one while ignoring the other. They are all kind of interconnected, but interesting to see, specifically where Canadians stand on what they, feel should be number 1.
Well, the average selling price of a home in Toronto was less than $1 million last month. The Toronto Regional Real Estate Board says more than 3,000 homes were sold in January at an average price of just over $973,000. It's the first time since January 2021 that the average selling price was less than $1 million. Treb says last month's home sales were down more than 19% year over year. The association says elevated supply will likely lead to lower average selling prices in the first half of 2026, though prices could stabilize in the latter half of the year if consumer confidence improves.